All right, today on the show, we have Adam Sheets from Remax Realty Team in Fort Myers, Florida. Let me tell you about Adam. Adam is 30 years old and has been practicing real estate for 5 years. He operates a team with his parents and other agents who have been in real estate for almost 20 years. Adam is a Remax Platinum agent. He's a five-star professional rising star. He's a Remax rising star, as well as he's been featured in Real Producers Magazine as a rising star. We love Real Producers Magazine, by the way. And he's ranked, he's ranking in the top 500 realtors out of over 16,000 agents in his local market. In his free time, you'll find him on the golf course or exploring different parts of the world with his wife, Zoe. Adam also coaches over 150 agents nationwide. He's definitely the youngest coach we've ever had on the show, but he's talked specifically, among other topics, about how to leverage Facebook to gain clients without actually spending money doing so. Please visit Adam at his website, which is sheetsteam.net, and that's SHEETS team.net. And also find him on Facebook, which is at the Sheets Team, or just search for the Sheets and you will find them. Adam, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to doing this. I haven't done a podcast in a little bit, so I'm pumped.
Oh, we are excited. Adam and I were just talking podcasts right before the show. So I've got, hopefully I'll make this a pleasurable experience for you, but we're so grateful to have you on. I always like to start, and you're such a young guy with so much success. Would love to hear about how you got into real estate. Would you mind walking us through sort of that journey?
Absolutely. Okay. So it started, I'll try to make this somewhat short, but so like everybody else after high school, I was like, all right, now you go to college. And so all my buddies moved to Orlando. They went to the University of Central Florida. And I was like, okay, I want to go there. But full disclosure, I didn't have the grades to get into UCF. So I was like, I'm still going to move to Orlando, but I'm going to go to a school called Full Sail University, which is for entertainment. And because I wanted to be a movie producer or an agent or something along those lines. And it was the closest. It was either that or go to like the Los Angeles Film School or the New York, whatever the equivalent is. And so I did that. And then after about a year, I realized that it was just a cash grab. It was a private university, super expensive, but I got to live where all my friends live. So I was like, okay, now the next step, I'm gonna have to go to a community college here. And then I'm gonna have to get to UCF after that. So started doing that. But about that time was when all my friends were graduating. So I was already behind the curve because that year basically that was a year wasted that I spent at Full Sail. And I still think to this day, the only thing I learned was that one of my professors was like the Rolling Stones tour manager. And he told, I can't remember it now, but he told us like what the Rolling Stones liked in their green room before our show.
So you know who else is a professor there is Oprah's partner Stedman. Stedman is he was one of the big professors at Full Sail. Whenever I would see Full Sail, and Full Sail grads have won like Grammys and Oscars. Like,
of course,
it's definitely like it's definitely got some credentials, but understanding that it's it's a trade school essentially. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was just, maybe it's because I wasn't all in on it. I'm not really sure. But so I was a year behind the curve. Then all my buddies started graduating. And I was like, well, I'm way behind. I don't want to be living up here alone because like I've got a very close friend group. Everybody was moving back. But when they started moving back and getting jobs, right out of college jobs, I was like, there's just no way I'm doing that. And I like expensive stuff. I like doing fun things. I like traveling. I was like, that's just not going to cut it. So for years, my parents told me, or since I turned 18, they're like, just get your real estate license. If you never use it, that's fine, but at least you have it. And I'm like, I'm not going to be a realtor. I can literally still hear my friends in high school saying, you're going to be a realtor, right? And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I swear to God, I will not do real estate.
And this is what your parents have always done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, they had corporate jobs for a long time and then they got out because they were missing my brother and I's like soccer games and hockey games and stuff. So they got into real estate, but they said, just get your real estate license. So finally, see my friends moving back. I'm like, at this point, I'm a college dropout because I moved back home when they all moved back home. I was like, I'll go home, I'll figure it out. I'll just go back to school here, whatever I need to do. And so I got my real estate license. And they're like, okay, well, why don't you want to come work with us for now? And basically I was like an assistant, like a part-time assistant. Most of my time was spent like hanging out with my friends that were still in college that lived here. And, for spring break, we just party. It was just a fun time. I was like
Sure.
20, let's see, when I got my real estate license, I guess I was 24, but I didn't start practicing until like late 25, something like that.
Yeah.
So finally I decided that I just wasn't really into the whole school thing necessarily at all, because I tried to go back to school and I just, for something in me, I couldn't do it. I knew I was going to work for myself, whether it was doing real estate or something else. I was going to do something that made me be able to make my own schedule and play golf when I wanted to and do stuff like that. So I went to work for my parents, and this whole Facebook thing kind of started because the first day I sat down, I literally went and spent like my last $1,200 on an iMac, as you do, because I needed that, right? I needed that to sell real estate. And but I sat down at my desk, and of course I've got great coaches. They've been in business forever, tons of awards, millions and millions of sales. And they told me, okay, you need to get your farm areas. You need to, do some mailers. If you want to door knock, go door knock. If you want to cold call, do that too. Whatever you want to do, here's kind of the list for success in this business. And being just kind of a pompous 25-year-old, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I was
Not
like,
knocking on doors. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not. I was like, I'm just not doing that. It's not.
You're not going to call expireds or FSBOs.
No. And so I sat down at my desk with my brand new iMac, and I said, okay, I've always been into social media in general. I mean, I grew up in like MySpace was huge. So my generation, we've been on social media. We were the first ones really. And and I always knew how to get people to react to stuff, whether it was on MySpace or like the early days of Facebook when no one was really on Facebook, but could get people to react. So I said, okay, I'm just going to do that, but I'm going to do it about real estate on Facebook. So within 6 hours of being, new realtor, I had somebody say, hey, I want to rent a place. And
wow.
I was like, wow, this is crazy. And that renter, within I didn't really know anything about real estate. I flipped her into a buyer. And so it was literally the first day of being a realtor that I got my first contract. And
that's incredible.
So that's what I thought. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like,
this is so easy.
This is so easy. This house is like 230 grand. I'm going to make like $7,000 or $6,000, whatever it is. I was like, I'm filthy rich. And then it took like 5 months to get the second sale.
Yeah.
And
did that one also come through Facebook?
Yes. So the first year I sold 7 houses, I think. All 7 came from Facebook. And
it's impressive.
And it was literally just posting information. I mean, it's the stuff, offer value, and eventually people will come around, right? That's kind of the spiel with anything social media, and trying to gain business from it. But it took 5 months, and in that time, I mean, the first 6 months of being a realtor, anyways, you feel like you have no idea what you're doing, even if you have coaches that have been in the business 20 years.
Sure.
I'm just like, yeah, I just sit here. I go to the office for 4 hours a day, and then I'd go do whatever because I had nothing to do. So the first year, 7 houses, which I think equaled maybe $20,000 in commissions.
Yeah.
But I just moved back from Orlando. I was living at home, no bills. I literally think I'm rolling in it.
Sure.
And then so 2016. January 1, I think January 1 fell on a Monday that year. Somebody's going to correct that, but I think it fell on a Monday because I'm very big on January 1. We erase the goal board, and we're onward to the next year. So leading up to that, like through Christmas season and stuff, holiday season, sorry. I said, okay, I got to get a plan together for social media for 2016 or 17, whichever one it was. And so January 1 fell on a Monday, which is perfect because you get to start the week and the new year.
Yeah.
So I hit it really hard, and I developed a content schedule, and I stuck to it, and I started using Facebook as a sphere of influence, because I also didn't do that when my parents said, hey, get a sphere of influence together. No, I'm not going to do that. To this day, I don't have a sphere of influence, a proper sphere of influence through
Right.
with like Excel or, whatever CRM you want to use. I still don't have it because I use Facebook for that. So, yeah. And the reason I started using Facebook, kind of back to spending my last $1,200 on an iMac,
That's free.
I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money to spend on leads and stuff. So that's kind of how I got into real estate. And because it was like a last ditch effort, but it apparently turned out all right. And because I tell people all the time, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't do another job. I don't know what it would be if somebody came to me tomorrow and said, hey, would you do this? I don't know if I would do anything else now. But that's how I got into real estate. I kind of fell into it, family business, and hit the ground running.
Yeah, well, it's an impressive story, and the number one. So at our firm here, we're in Chicago. We have about 750 agents here at our company, and the number one question we get, from all of our listeners on the podcast is, how do I better leverage social media? And I really want to pick your brain about this, because I think this is such an interesting thing, because you get what percentage of your business? I don't want to misquote you, but what percentage of your business comes from Facebook?
It's plus minus 97%.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure, because it's such a astronomical number that it almost sounds not real. And I know it is real, of course. But I want to know how you got that. Yeah.
All right. So how it started was, and again, sat down, I said, okay, how can I reach the most people the fastest I possibly can for free? And so I started using Facebook Messenger as my sphere of influence and way to contact my sphere of influence. So I sat down with a list and I wrote down 25 names a day that I was going to send messages to. Hey, my name's Adam Sheets. At the time I was with Coldwell Banker. Said, hey, I'm Adam Sheets with Coldwell Banker. Just so you know, right now you can buy, this was when FHA was 3% down, I think. I said, just so you know, you can buy a house with 3% down. So if you thought about renting, 3% may be cheaper than first, last, and security. And then I just include my name, phone number, email address, website at the bottom. And for every time somebody would respond, I would check mark next to their name. And then that went into, I guess I kind of lied, I do have an Excel file with all these people in it now. And I didn't the first year. I had to go back and do it, which took forever. But so I was tracking it. So I knew that basically for every 250 messages I sent to people, that I was going to get 1 to 2 deals per 250 messages. But 250 messages takes 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Facebook's a little different now, because now I think they cut you off after like 49 messages. Like if they realize what you're doing, and Facebook's pretty smart, so they always do, they'll put you on a 24-hour ban. You go back the next day, you start it over. So that's what I was doing for months and months and months to develop this kind of presence with people. And then I paired that with content every single day, whether it was, because I mean, some days when I started, I had the time, but some days you don't have it. You don't have the creative juices flowing. So sometimes it would just be like, would you buy a house if you only had to put 3% down? And the amount of people that I've sold houses to because of that simple little post, it's got to be over 100 people just because of that.
Wow.
But it all works together. So they'd see me in their inbox, and then they would see my content on their feed. So even if they didn't, fully read the message, they know, like, why do I know that name? I know him from somewhere. And so I started developing a rapport with all the people I was friends with on Facebook. And when I started, I had 1,000 friends on Facebook. So basically what I started doing was I added absolutely everybody I could that was in and around, in around Fort Myers. So Cape Coral, Bonita, Naples, everywhere. I never added a realtor. And I always tried to add people with multiple mutual friends, so that I'm just not, Joe Schmo adding them on Facebook.
Right. There was a connection there that they could see.
There's a connection and that little trust almost. Now it's gotten out of hand because throughout the years, I mean, I'm up to 5,000. So like there's an endless supply of people you can add on Facebook. Because once I add all these people into my list, and I'll go through and I'll say, okay, this person hasn't, because I have a schedule where I'll message somebody. If they don't read it, because you can see if they read it. If they don't read it, I'll send them another message in 3 months. another in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. If after 12 months, they haven't read it, replied to it, I delete them off Facebook, and that makes room for one more person because you're only allowed 5,000 on Facebook, right? So,
Right.
So it's a constant cycle of filtering people in and out and in and out. But it's literally unlimited. Now I've taught this to, I mean, I teach this to agents in my office too. So everyone's doing it, but like I get friend requests from realtors all the time. And, all my friends do too. Because even in 5 years, the amount of people that are using social media has gone up substantially. It's still not to where it should be because everybody should be using it. But for a lot of people, it's tough to understand, and to come up with, a plan and a content schedule and a list and to make sure you keep it organized. It can be tough, but if you use it, like I always tell people, it's like sending out a mailer, but you don't know how many people are opening up that piece of mail. I throw any realtor that sends stuff to my house, I throw it away.
Sure.
Maybe because I'm a realtor, but like, I don't have any interest in reading what they're sending because it's always the same exact thing. You want to know your value, your home value is.
Yeah.
And the difference with using Facebook like that is so that you can track it. You know who read it. You know who, responded to you. I'd say the majority of the responses I get are, hey, Adam, like not ready yet, but in 6 months, give me another message. So they literally go into my calendar, 6 months, boom, you're getting a message. And with the way that people, so they see the message and they see whatever content I have that, comes across their feed. And there's no limit to it. So my biggest kind of success story with it is one of my clients and now friends, Trey. He was one of the first people I added on Facebook 5 years ago. And last year, I get a random phone call. Hey, it's Trey Jones. I'm like, who? And he's like, oh, we're friends on Facebook. You sent me a
I have
message
5,000 friends.
I know. And he's like, you sent me a message in 2015. I wasn't ready to buy a house then, but now I'm ready to buy a house. And I'm like, dude, I appreciate the loyalty. Like that is crazy because we've never had a conversation before this. He's like, yeah, but I've been following your stuff, and you're also one of the only realtors I know that got into the business and isn't now out of the business.
Yeah, right.
Because
sure,
like I've been here and I get messages from people all the time. Hey, are you still in real estate? I'm like, well, one, that means that I'm not doing a good enough job of getting my content to you because you would know if you saw it. But two, it's crazy that there's this known thing outside of real estate where like I might not be in your friend that's an agent might not be in real estate tomorrow. They're back to doing their old job.
So the consistency of doing it as often as you do it, just over time solidifies that you're the guy. Exactly.
And then my kind of content schedule. If you look at my Facebook page, which for anyone that's going to listen, I'm just Adam Sheets on Facebook. If you look at my page, everything looks the same. It's all branded with my logo or our logo. It's got my phone number. People always say, don't be a secret agent, right? But that always applies to wearing your name tag at the grocery store. Anytime I hear that said, it's like, what's your at the grocery store, wear your name tag. And I'm like, okay, it's not 1950 anymore. Although it does work. My mom gets business from wearing her name tag, so I can't really knock it that much.
Yeah, some people do it for sure. But the point is doing that on Facebook essentially.
Right. It's the same exact thing. Don't be a secret agent. Everyone should know. Like when I'm coaching people and I'll scroll through their Facebook page and I'm like, I'm 5 minutes into scrolling down your page. I don't even know your phone number is. And they're like, well, I guess I should put that on there, huh? I'm like, yeah, it should be in your header photo. Like it should be right there because you have this long to capture somebody's attention. And if you don't, they're gone. If they thought for a second, oh, maybe I'll message them about buying a house, and then they went on your page and you were too difficult to get a hold of, they're just not going to, it's the path of least resistance. They're just not going to get a hold of you. So it's one of the first things I tell people, make your cover photo with all your contact information. This should be the first thing somebody sees, and then they should see it again in your bio, and then they should see it on every single post that you have. And that's another thing that I tell people is that typically when a realtor uses social media, you'll see that when they close on a house,
just listed, just sold.
Yes, and they'll go on Microsoft Paint and they'll put sold across the like it's always diagonal. And it's always in the same disgusting font, and it's always red. And
you're absolutely right.
And I'm like, that is just so bad. And they just post a picture, no information or anything like that. So for me, I see a new listing, that's 3 pieces of content for me because it used to be 4, but we got rid of coming soon, so we can't do coming soon anymore. But so you get a just listed post, you get an under contract post, and you get a closed post. The average Joe is not going back on your Facebook profile and looking back 30 days to say, oh, that's the same house.
Right.
They're just saying, wow, he sells a lot of houses. And then on the buying side, you get an under contract and a closed post. And then for every one of those, I always like to include, if it's my kind of claim to fame, if you will, is that I've gotten $550,000 in closing costs paid by sellers.
Wow.
So I always add that to every post. I'm like, closing cost counter, 450, 455, 500,000. So I always include like a little bit of a story, like how much, like what did it take to get this buyer under contract? What did you do to make sure this listing stood out above the other 30 homes that were for sale in the same neighborhood? So people have something to read. Nobody cares that you closed on a house, but
right,
they'll care if you have something to say about that house and why are you the guy I should hire? So it's almost like you're writing your own testimonial. Like, I had to do this, and this to get this house list ready. And then, we went under contract in 2 days prior to all this craziness that's going on right now. But we went under contract in 2 days before there were 6 houses on the market and 30 offers over list price. But so I always like to, it's about informing people. And I use my 3 and my 2 for just listed and buyer side, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that everybody knows exactly what's going on in my real estate career.
And that's really smart too, because we have to realize that people don't see all of our posts. Facebook does not show every one of our followers all of our posts. In fact, on a Facebook page, if your followers to the page can see 20% of your posts, you're a superstar. Like it's usually 3 to 5%. So this idea that everyone sees everything you post is a complete myth. They're just not. So if you want to post even a just listed 2 different times in a week, odds are no one is going to notice that you even did the exact same post twice. You probably shouldn't. You probably should come up with additional ways to sort of market that. But it's not, it's not something that you should be too worried about. I wanted to ask you about video versus, text and picture, text and image postings. Do you do video, or are you mostly a text and image guy?
So I do video. I've gotten away from video. Like, it's been so busy, so I haven't had time to put, because my background prior to going to Full Sail is in TV production.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like natural for you. Yeah.
So I mean, at 12, I had a video camera and I was editing skateboard videos. And then, at 15, I was head of TV production, like for the 4 years in high school and stuff like that. So I've always been into it. So video has been very easy for me always. It's not like that for most people. Most people are scared to death of the camera. But because of that, I will not put out a piece of video content that I don't think is absolutely perfect, which is tough because, like, it might take me 10 hours to edit a video, but only 2 hours to edit a video, and then 10 hours to say, you know what, that beat just didn't line up with that transition properly. I can't put this out. It's something nobody's ever going to realize. But when I have put out video, the feedback is so much greater than just just listed and closed and here's what your down payment, those kind of posts. But when I was consistently doing video, which would have been last year and years prior to that, the feedback was great. And then with video too, you can tell, okay, 600 people watch this video, 700 people watch this video, whereas the normal posts, you have no idea. I mean, you might get, that's part of the issue with Facebook in general, and back to not everyone seeing everything you post, is that you might post something one day that goes for 60 comments, 10 shares, and 150 likes. And then you could post the same thing the next day and it goes for absolutely nothing. So back when I was doing video, that's kind of when I would gauge when to post the video, is when my just normal content wasn't doing so hot. Then I would be like, okay, it's time for a video. And then I post the video up, and then the engagement on the other post comes with it. It's always about just trying to tease that Facebook algorithm a little bit to make sure that, you're front and center.
I wanted, and I'm sorry, I meant to go back to this earlier. Thank you for that. I want to talk about using Facebook Messenger as an outreach tool. This is a particularly interesting, and I don't really see a lot of other people doing it that way. They'll, friends will communicate that way via Messenger,
Sure.
but to use it as an introductory point, or at least a, hey, here's a little piece of content that, you may or may not be interested in. Do you automate that? Because there are ways to automate some of those, or are you doing it all manually?
No, it's literally copy and paste, pull up 25 chat boxes on the bottom, bang, 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 done for the day. Um, but I know on our business page, we had automation for a while, but it wasn't the same. Um, I mean, business page is always gonna be different than personal anyways, but doing it from the personal page and having it felt like I was typing every single message out because it was always,
Sure.
hey, so and so. It wasn't just hi there. And I tried the hi there because that was way quicker for a long time. And like nobody was reading the messages. So I
Right.
said, okay, I need
People
to
know when it's a bot. Yeah.
exactly. So now it's I mean, depending on my schedule for a day, I might type out 25 different messages and send them to 25 different people. Hey, just saw you got a new dog, cute dog. Uh, Also, do you want to buy a house? And it just depends on the schedule, but just the copy and paste, simple and quick, because that's what it was about. It's about efficiency, and you can send out 25 and 30 seconds. I mean, not really, 2 minutes. And you do that 5 times. I know I'm getting 1 and 2 deals out of it. Uh, and again, the majority of the messages are, I'm not ready now, but in 6 months, give me a shout. I've never had anybody be rude about a message. I'm sure people have deleted me off Facebook afterwards, but I don't care. It just makes room for somebody else. So not a big deal. But yeah, Facebook Messenger is just, and I tell people all the time, it works. It all works together. And I don't think you can do one without the other. If you're going to do the messages thing, you got to make sure the content follows it. If you're going to do the
Sure.
content thing, you got to make sure you're hitting them in the messenger too.
Yeah.
Because and kind of back to what you said, I don't know anybody else that uses Facebook Messenger like that either. And to this day, 5 years later, I still do it. I still do it like it was the first time I ever did it, and I'm still getting the same results.
That's incredible. And the other cool thing I want to mention about Facebook Messenger is those notifications people do see, right? So where they might not see all of your posts because
Yep.
Facebook's algorithm doesn't always show everyone all of your posts, but every time a message comes up, if you're connected to that person as a friend, then they will see it. If you're not a friend, then maybe they'll see it, maybe they won't, depending on their notification settings.
Yep.
So would you encourage people not to do that for people that they're not already direct connected as friends?
I would say you need to be direct connected as friends, just because um, I recently went into my spam folder, and I mean I
And
had messages from years ago that
me
I'd
too.
never seen, and if you're
Yeah.
not friends with that person, they're never going to see it. um, I don't know how Facebook really works that, and because I'm not huge into the technical side of Facebook obviously, but only a couple times have I not been friends with somebody on Facebook and gotten their message. And actually, now that I say that, the most recent time that happened was a 21-year-old realtor who was doing the same exact thing that I did 5 years ago.
I love it.
And now I talk to him all the time now, because I was like, dude, I appreciate this so much because I literally built a business off this. And then I told him, I said, but just so you know, my game just ramped up because now I know somebody is back
Now I
there.
have competition.
5 years ago doing the same exact thing. I was blown away. I'm like, dude, this is all you need to do. This is it.
So what's so interesting is what really you've done is you've taken what everybody does on LinkedIn and to very little success, I have to assume. So we all know that every day, if we check our LinkedIn, there is somebody has messaged us about something, that person that we typically don't know. Maybe we've accepted them as a connection, but it's a lot of sales pitches. And it's just,
Yeah.
my inbox is flooded every day. I don't even read it. I don't open it. I don't care. It's never anything interesting, but
Mine's always
nobody does that.
lenders.
Yeah, different vendors, different financial advisors, realtors, whatever. But nobody's doing that on Messenger that I'm aware of, and that is such a brilliant idea, because it's you see it all the time on LinkedIn, and you just don't think about it for Messenger. So wow,
Well,
what a
yeah,
great
because
idea!
LinkedIn is supposed to be the business tool, right? That's the
Yeah,
business social media. But I don't know anybody that's gaining. I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there is doing it at a high level, getting business from LinkedIn. I don't know who that person is, But Facebook makes it so easy because it's a personal thing. Whereas LinkedIn, it's like, oh, another person from Northwestern Mutual wants to talk to me.
Right, right.
Like, okay, big deal. But with Facebook, I might just be messaging about who knows what. Hey, I like your new truck, but instead it's a little sales pitch with all my contact information there. But yeah, I mean, even, and then, so I also, in my 97% is included, somebody messages me back on Facebook, says, hey, my dad wants to, buy a house, which happens pretty often too. That goes into my Facebook stats also, because that still came from Facebook. And I mean, I don't know. I tell people all the time, I've become a one-trick pony actually, because Facebook's that's my bread and butter. Like I've tried the mailers thing now at this point. I've tried just about everything, and nothing gets me results like Facebook does. I'll let agents know, like, if it wasn't for Facebook, I'd probably sell 2 houses a year. It's crazy the exposure that you get.
Curious if you also are, aside from using Messenger, you are connected to, you have this 5,000 friends limit. Are you going through your feed and commenting and liking on other people's posts? I'm curious if that's part of the strategy too.
So I'm not. Yes, I do, but not for the reason of making sure that they, the algorithms and stuff will work for me and putting me in front of those people. What I do about 3 hours a day, I scroll through Facebook, because every time you refresh, it's different stuff. I will scroll through Facebook, and a lot of people this is the part they don't typically understand when I'm giving this spiel, is that I do not use Facebook like a social media tool. I don't care about a picture of a new dog. I don't care if you're getting married. I scroll through Facebook looking for key things, like just had a kid. Well, I guess marriage isn't fair, because if you just got married, if you just got engaged, if I'm seeing these people, they go to the top of my list of who's getting a message when I'm done doing my few hours of Facebook scrolling. So I'm using it as like almost prospecting. Okay, who has a life-changing event that I need to send a message to that might be in a position that they need to buy a new house? So babies, marriages, and engagements.
New job.
New job. Yes, exactly. All that kind of stuff to go to the top of the list, and I'll immediately send them a message as soon as I'm done. And then another thing that I don't know why this happens. You may know more than I, because you know people at Facebook, but I always tend to, when I get on my phone in the evening, Facebook puts the posts front and center for me. Hey, who knows a realtor in Fort Myers? They're always right there. So I probably do 20 deals a year just because it was the first thing that popped up in my feed. And I'm the first one that, hey, I'm a realtor, my hands are shaking. I'm like, I'm a realtor, respond to me. But it's always right there. And the only thing I can think of is that Facebook has figured out that I sell houses, and they know to put that stuff in front of me, because real estate is something that, my profile puts out into the cloud that I'm interested in. And that didn't start happening. I mean, that was never there before I was in real estate. And now all of a sudden, I started selling real estate, and these posts are right there all the time.
And have you expanded into Instagram at all? Because realtors are spending all their time in Instagram. Curious if you've had success there, or if you stay strictly with Facebook.
No, so all my business comes from Facebook. I do have an Instagram profile, which I was off of for a couple of years. I actually just got back on Instagram, because I just figured if I can do this on Facebook, I can do it on Instagram also. And it's way easier, I think, to engage on Instagram. So literally just recently, I took the same formula. I haven't started the message thing on Instagram yet. It's easier to engage, but it's harder to find people to, send a message to, because it's not like I can just throw out 1,000 friend requests in an hour and then hope that 300 of them accept it. And then same thing, I believe Instagram has spam also. I'll check when I'm done. But
they do. Absolutely.
Okay. So I haven't started the messages on Instagram yet, but I'm still doing the same content schedule. So everything that goes on my Facebook page goes on my Instagram too. But again, back to, nobody cares that you sold a house on social media. Instagram is more of like it's more of like a little salt on top of the, it's just to go along with my Facebook because it's most of the same people. So
Yeah.
they go on Facebook, they see it, they go on Instagram, they're like, okay, there it is again. Adam, I know you're the guy I'm going to call when I sell my house. But it's just reiterating like, hey, I'm here for you. Here's the content that I'm putting out. Here's the info that you need. And so I'm just back to being front and center. I'm front and center on all these people's social media pages. And I'm not, it's no secret that I'm a full-time realtor, whereas the guy who only posts like, I've got buddies that are, highly successful realtors. They don't use any social media at all.
Right.
And occasionally I'll see on their Instagram page, like, hey, sold a house for $3.5 million. I'm like, dang, must be nice. But, and then they'll post it up and then you won't see anything. They're doing business behind the scenes, but some people just, they don't need it, but I needed it. And, to this day, I still don't spend any money on marketing. It's all Facebook and, just organic reach through my personal page.
Yeah, I love it. I want to talk about how social media has also built you a pretty successful coaching business. And Adam was telling me the story before we started, but I would love for you to share the story about how you even got coaching clients, because it was sort of an unintentional thing.
Yeah, so it was a total accident. I'm on these Facebook pages, and one day there was an agent that said, for anyone, it was basically like anyone using social media at a high level to generate business. And I commented and I just said, actually 97% of my business comes from Facebook. And I got thousands of emails and messages. And I was like, well, okay, I'm gonna make some money off this. And so I initially, I remember my first client, her name's Dawn. She's in Toronto, I think. And I did up this, it was a cheat sheet for her. And I charged her $25. And then that was, so then she was the first one. It had to have been that same day or within a few days that I was getting just inundated with messages and messages and messages. And so I said, hey, for $25, I will send you guys this cheat sheet that I did up for another agent. If you want to take it further, we can definitely talk about it. So here's the cheat sheet. And then after that, then, if I got 2,000 emails and messages, I sent them out the cheat sheet, which took me like 5 days to send out that many emails with a attachment to it. But so then I took it further with 1,000 of those people, and then settled around 150 finally that I'm talking to on a consistent basis. And these are people from the guy who is a star on YouTube selling real estate to the 78-year-old who's never ever thought about posting about real estate on her Facebook page. So it's super personalized, but we do Zoom calls and stuff like that. I always make sure they're staying on top of it. And one of the biggest things with these coaching clients and just real estate professionals in general is making the switch from using Facebook as a social media to, like I said earlier, using it as a total business tool. So take out the picture of your grandkids or your kids as your header photo. And I get some backlash to this. Like, I've definitely lost clients because of this, not actual clients, coaching clients. I'm like, get rid of your kids, get rid of your grandkids, get rid of your dogs. They're like, well, I want my family to see my family. And I'm like, then we should probably just end this here. I'm not trying to be brash, but
Right.
This is for a very specific, reason. And it's because you want to use Facebook to generate more business. And if you're not willing to do the things that I have done, which are tried and true, then, we just stop it right now. Most of them kind of catch on to it and they're like, okay, I'll give it a try. Some people haven't, that's fine. I mean, you can sell real estate however you want to sell real estate, but totally stumbled into it. And it was literally from one message. But now, anytime I see somebody post something like that on any real estate Facebook page, I comment the same thing, and I still get tons and tons of messages.
I bet.
And it's the same thing, starts with sending them the cheat sheet and then a Zoom call, and then Zoom call and text and whatever else. So it's just little tips and tricks here and there. that, I just kind of learned along the way. And there's so much, there's such a lack of knowledge on how to use it and market yourself on social media that a little effort, start doing, if you do an extra 5 deals a year, two deals a year, it's worth the effort that it takes to do it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's so interesting, and we should also promote your coaching program. So if somebody
Sure.
wants to reach out to you and learn more about what you're offering with coaching for social media,
Yep.
what's the best way that they should do that?
Probably by text. I respond to text quicker than email, and that's just 239-839-6974. You can also reach me by email. Like I said, I'll respond to your text quicker, which is just adam@sheetsteam.net. And then we'll figure it out. It's not super, it's not super formal. It's, I'm a casual guy. I'm wearing a t-shirt, and this is kind of me every day. We have some fun and try to come up with stuff together. And it seems to be working out for people so far.
And I have just one last question around your content calendar, which I meant to ask earlier, is do you have a general rule of thumb of how many posts a day? Is it a certain number per day? Is it different each day? Just out of curiosity.
So I like to post a couple times a day. I don't do it on the weekends. My weekends are, unless I have to show houses, I'm off. But Monday to Friday, I try to just come up with let me take a step back. My schedule is technically for our business page.
Right.
That's where I have it like taped to my desk right here. This is my content calendar. I know that because, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, but some days you don't have the creative juices flowing. So having a schedule like that is super important. So on Monday for our business page, I know that I'm doing anything we just listed, put under contract, or closed. So that's every single Monday. Tuesday, I do what's called Sheets Eats, and I pick a local restaurant and do a write-up of it, pictures, the whole thing, because people love seeing that you're a part of a community.
Sure.
Food. So Sheets Eats it just kind of goes together. But,
yeah, it's a good name. Yeah.
And then Wednesday is things to do, things coming up this weekend in Lee County.
Love it.
Thursday,
Love that.
Local Business Spotlight, which sometimes I switch around Sheets Eats and Local Business Spotlight.
And so for the local business spotlight, are you reaching out to local businesses and say, hey, I have this pretty decent social media following. I would love to promote your business and learn the story of your company. And then what's really brilliant about that, of course, which I'm sort of I'm sort of stepping on Adam's, the punchline, so to speak. But the what's so brilliant about that is that, of course, those business owners are also going to share this post with all of their customers, which drives more people to Adam.
That's why it started, because I was like, listen, if I know a lot of business owners, so it's not necessarily like a super formal write-up or anything. It's just, hey, if I have a friend that owns a t-shirt company, and so I did t-shirts and pictures of the t-shirts, but he shared it to his 3,000 Facebook friends. And then from there, sure, I don't even know where that post is now. It's probably in California. Like, I have no idea. So the exposure, and it's two birds with one stone. They love that you're part of the community, and then the business owner's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, especially during COVID. Like,
free advertising,
restaurants and business owners were loving it. I've only had one restaurant ever have an issue with it, and they threatened like a cease and desist letter. It was ridiculous. And
wow.
And now I'll never eat at the restaurant again. So I don't know what they were thinking. I'm like, I literally just give you guys free advertising in a time when no one can go to a restaurant, and you're gonna cause issue about this. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that then what I do is I come up with that on the business page, and then I share it to my personal page. So which helps the exposure of the business page too, because business pages are tough, and
they are tough.
So whatever I can do to make sure that is front and center, as well. So it's sharing it to the personal page, and then the engagement on the business page goes up, or even just not necessarily engagement, because on our business page, we're not getting, like, if I post up a restaurant review, I'm not getting 100 comments on it. Oh my gosh, I love this place. But when I share it to my personal page, I do get those comments. So then, you can see it on the post on the business page. This one reached 3,000 people. And so it all works together: messages, business page, and personal page. It's just cohesive, and I don't think you can do one without the other. And then Fridays end with a win, which is, hey, brag. If you want to brag about something, brag about something. Come on here and post it. I don't care what it is. Just to get people fired up, and people like talking about themselves. I mean, let's be honest. People like saying, hey, I did this week, just bought a new boat, like whatever. So that's, and that's actually new. This is a new schedule. So Friday will actually be the first end with a win. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But I stole that from my buddy Chris, who's a realtor in Austin. So, and he gets great engagement when he does it. So we'll see if we get the same thing here.
Well, everyone who is listening or watching should be following Adam's business page at the very least, just to see what he's doing, to get a better sense of what you could do to increase your Facebook conversions. So definitely go to the easiest way to do it is facebook.com/the Sheets team, or just Google the Sheets team and it'll come up, and they really are the Sheets, but it's /the Sheets team. And you can get a sense of what they're doing. And if you're interested in learning more about Adam's coaching program, of course, reach out to him. You can reach him right through the business page. He gave his text or his cell phone number. You can text him. And of course, you can also go to his website, the firm website, which is sheetsteam.net, and all their social media is there as well. And you can contact them easily through email that way too. Adam, thank you so much for being on our show. I hope a lot of our listeners reach out to you, and hopefully get some more coaching clients, because this is amazing. It's so funny. We on the podcast, just to pull the curtain back just a little bit, is we've now been doing this for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And so we get hit up by publicists every single day with, hey, we've got this great, realtor that we want you to feature on your show. And usually it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's a lot of like, here's why they're so great. And sometimes they are really great, but it doesn't always mean it's going to be a good guest. And a lot of people claim to be social media experts. We also get a lot of non-realtors who want to teach social media strategies via our podcast, and where we try to stay away from that as much as possible. We already have an expert that comes on once a month for Instagram and other platforms. But you're the first person I've talked to who's a producing realtor who is really getting those kind of results via Facebook. So I hope our audience will reach out to you, because I really believe that all of us could do better in that respect. And there's so much business there. So much business.
It's actually, it's crazy how much business is there, and people don't realize it's literally at your fingertips. Thousands of clients. And if they're not the client, they know someone that could be the client. But yeah, I get the amount of emails I get. Hey, can I, or not, hey, but learn how to use social media for realtors. And I'm like, or the amount of seminars I've sat through, and I'm like, I was doing this 5 years ago. Like, what are we talking about here? And they're like, no, you need to be doing this. And they give you the most basic stuff, which I get. I mean, if you're just starting out, the basic stuff is good. But I've sat through these things. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work. That just doesn't work. They're like, what do you mean it doesn't work? I'm like, I'm telling you that is outdated and nobody cares. Which hurts the egos a lot. But I mean, there's so much information out there, but I'm an open book. So if anybody, I mean, even if they don't want to be a coaching client, if you want to call and pick my brain, we'll just chop it up for a little bit. No big deal.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for being on our show. We couldn't be more. Yeah, couldn't be more appreciated. So appreciative. On behalf of all of our audience, our listeners and our viewers, we want to thank Adam for spending time out of his crazy busy day. He's incredibly successful at a super young age, and the way he's doing it is so impressive to us. So we're super appreciative that you came on and shared some of those strategies with our audience. And on behalf of Adam and myself, we want to thank our audience for sitting through this episode and absorbing it. And also, we're going to ask everyone to just do one thing to help us grow tell a friend. Think of one other real estate professional that could benefit from hearing this great conversation with Adam, and send them a link to our website. So whether the person's a podcast person or not, just send them over to our website, which is keepingitrealpod.com. Every episode we've ever done, you can stream right from the browser there. If they are a podcast person, just tell them to pull up a podcast app and search for Keeping It Real and hit the subscribe button. That would really help us continue to reach more and more realtors with great messages like what Adam shared today. So Adam, thank you so much. And we will see everybody. You're welcome. Awesome. We'll see everyone on the next episode. Thanks, Adam.
All right. See you guys.